Hi class, it's Miss Miller here, and today what I'd like to do is talk with you about how to extend the subject in your sentence by balancing that bar. And in the last video, we talked about how you can really add power to your action by adding different pieces like when, where, why, how, under what circumstances. And in this case, today what I'd like to do is talk to you about how you can really heighten the subject. In this case, it would be Michael. Before we do that though, I want to touch on some items that we didn't necessarily cover in the last video that's important for you to know, which is the 3 action patterns. And the first one is where you have one verb. Michael left the room. A rather short and concise sentence. In sentence number 2, it shows Michael exited the room and bolted across the street. Notice in this case, the 2 verbs are actually separated by the word and. Exited the room and bolted across the street. Now, just for the sake of comprehension, I'm going to keep the sentence, or at least the content of the sentences, the same. Michael, being the subject once again, exited the room, notice the comma in red, bolted across the street, and leaped over the rail. So in this case, we have 3 action patterns. We have a 2 action pattern, and we have a 1 action sentence. And again, we want to think about sentence variety. We want some long sentences, some short sentences, and then some medium length sentences. As you develop your style of writing, you're going to find ways to mix this up for yourself. I also wanted to touch on the describer group, which is really an extension of our who or what or action of the action. So the describer is really just an adjective. And so you could literally say the clever guy took a test. Or if you look at the describer plus the describer, notice that it's separated by the comma. The clever, comma, young man took the test. Now, if you want to switch it up, and in the third sentence, you'll notice that the describers go after the subject or the who or what. The man, clever and young, took the test. So these are just giving you options of how you can describe your person. And this really makes a difference in your writing. Now, my favorite part or way of expanding my subject is using the ING group. And remember, I promised to drop all the jargon in this unit, the grammatical jargon. We just want to talk about how to make your sentences stronger. So bear with me because this might be a little bit complex at first, but when you get the hang of it, you're going to find it very interesting. So some characteristics about the ING group. 1, you should note it's a group that begins with a word ending in ing. 2, it belongs directly after your subject, and you'll see exactly what I mean in a little bit later. It's really important that you do not insert any other words in between. And 3, it really just describes your subject. It functions in the same way as your describer, but it's a different type of description. Here are some examples. If you look at this image over here, you'll see that there's Michael once again. In this case, he's wearing the green shirt. We're describing him. We're not sure who he is. If there's a group of people, he's the one wearing the green shirt. He might be the one strolling down the street. He's not the one standing on the corner, but he's strolling down the street. He's contemplating life. He's thinking about the day. So there's a lot of different things that you could say to describe Michael. Remember, all of these phrases are going to go directly after your subject. Now, one thing the ING group is not is a verb. And so the formula for this is who or what plus the ING group, I marked it in red, and then the action group, which is in purple. If you look over to the right, it says Michael, who's a subject. We want to describe him wearing the green shirt. Now, this is the ING group. It's used to support or enhance Michael. It's adding 1, 2, 3, 4 more sentences to, or 4 more words to your sentence to really expand on this idea of Michael and who he is. Now, the verb is left the room. So please don't get the 2 mixed up. Those are 2 different things, and that's a misconception that many students make. Let's take a look at some other ways that you can expand the subject, and they really function the same way as the ING group. And we're going to have plenty of practice in the classroom on how to do this. I really just want to front load the content for you, and then we can practice these difficult tasks in class. So the ED group is really just the same. It's a word ending in ED, and it's a group of words, but the first word ends in ED. Michael, drenched in sweat. This describes who Michael is. If we looked out on the basketball court and we weren't sure who Michael was, we would say he was the one that was drenched in sweat. And what did he do? He left the room. Now the next one is called a renamer, or you repeat. in this case, and we spelled Michael wrong, so I don't want to point that out, but Michael, student of the month, left the room. So who is student of the month? It's Michael. And what did he do? He left the room. Now here is the with or without group. This is the same thing. It begins with the word with or without, but it's a group of words, and I've highlighted it in red. So Michael, with a big smile, left the room. Again, don't get these confused with the action of the sentence or the verb. Left the room, left the classroom, left the room, it's all the same. And then the who, which, that is really just, you start it with the word who, or if it's a person, you start it with the word who. If it's a thing, then you start it with the word which, and then you can use anything for that. So Michael, and since it's Michael as a person, we're going to begin with who is always messing around. This is a description of Michael. We are adding 5 words to the sentence to help us describe Michael. And left the classroom is the action. So again, we're going to have plenty of practice on how this works. Now I want to see what it looks like when we put everything all together. Now remember, we started at the very beginning with this sentence that just said, Michael left the room. Now how neat would it be if you were able to say the quick, agile Michael, athlete of the month, exited the room, bolted across the street, and leaped over the rail to catch the bus down the street on Central near the corner drugstore. Now this sentence is something to work with. If you look at the formula for this sentence, you'll notice that it's just simply the describer followed by a comma plus a describer plus who or what plus renamer plus the action group 1, comma plus action group 2, comma and the word and, action group 3, plus the Y group and 2 where groups at the end. That's your sentence instead of the first one. So I hope that you found this super helpful, and we're going to have plenty of opportunities to practice in class.